Gosh, that game looks great. So, where to next? Alright, so I've worked on several AAA games, and one of the pitfalls we always fall in is being so afraid the player won't instantly understand everything they can do that we plaster the world with a big gazillion icons telling them exactly where to go. Developers are often terrified to let the players think, so they'll use icons to make sure they never wonder what to do. It sounds obvious that it's not optimal, and that it should be simple to avoid. And it kind of is, but there are many reasons why modern games often fall in that trap. So here I wanted to take time to see where icons come from, why they're so often used, why they can be a problem, and show different, much more interesting ways to guide players through a game world. Early video games didn't need much directional UI, because they were mostly restricted to single screens with very simple rules. But once designers started integrating exploration mechanics, they had to find ways to teach players how to play, with very limited tools at their disposal. From as far as the early 80s, games like Battlezone started using UI elements, like radars, to help players understand whatever the fuck was in front of them. Then, RPGs and adventure games started using symbols and menus to represent items and objectives. Those symbols, however, were not telling the players what they had to do, but rather what they could do. Icons didn't start as a guidance system, they started as a language. But somewhere along the way, that language became a freaking GPS. In the 1990s, games exploded in complexity, with more systems, more space, and more decisions per second. Many games relying on a mission structure started incorporating UI elements to tell players exactly where to go and what to do, especially in games featuring high-speed decision-making or open-world settings with too many successive choices to make. In 2001, a game came out and exploded like none other before. It was so big in scope, with so many ways to play, the devs didn't trust the players to even find their cool missions on their own. That game was GTA 3. Because of its incredibly large open world and focus on realism, it became increasingly complex to guide players with the environment itself. So they chose to use icon breadcrumbing instead. GTA popularized open worlds, and then that type of guidance started creeping out of that specific genre, to slowly become a staple of gaming in general. RPGs like Oblivion, or MMOs like World of Warcraft, started implementing objective markers for everything, further normalizing the idea of constantly guiding the player. Endless follow the arrow quests became part of the open world genre's identity. But also, as players became used to them, developers started integrating them in linear games as well. But why is icon chasing even a problem, you ask? Well, contrary to popular belief, the first problem isn't immersion, but basic readability and player understanding. On-screen clutter has gotten completely out of hand. Modern games can throw so many UI elements on screen, it becomes genuinely hard for players to even tell what actually matters. Everything on screen starts competing for attention, including the level itself. Then, when the player eventually figures out which icon to follow, they tend to become laser focused on it, afraid to lose it again. Hence, they miss everything else along the way. They run past loot, chests, shortcuts, and worse, they miss fun gameplay that was carefully placed in the environment. And here's the real problem. That icon ain't a path. It's just a destination. It will not show the player how to get there. It will guide them forward in a straight line. So players assume that straight line is correct, and fall victim to the Skyrim syndrome, mindlessly hugging walls instead of reading the environment and going around obstacles. Now, the second problem is that icon chasing erodes player skill and reinforces bad habits. So many games have trained players to follow icons, that when UI guidance is removed, they struggle to figure out what to do next.
I don't know what to do! Oh my god! Where's the yellow paint? I need yellow paint!
Icons become expected, and over time, players lose their situational awareness, their ability to read the environment, search for cues, and understand where to go. The result is UI dependence. Instead of learning how to navigate spaces, players learn how to read icons. And that also means players stop discovering things by themselves. Exploration in itself is meaningless. What makes it rewarding is curiosity and discovery. You spot something strange on the horizon. A rune, a silhouette that doesn't quite belong. You decide to investigate. You look around. And you find a hidden chest because you were clever enough to notice it. That eureka moment is infinitely more satisfying than finding that exact same chest because an icon or a glowy spot told you it was there. And that is why many UI-driven open worlds lose traction in the long run and generate exploration fatigue, while worlds like Hyrule or the lands between remain endlessly compelling to explore. Now, there's something I used to tell the level design students I was mentoring. It's that icons are just a cheap-ass way to patch shitty design. Okay, obviously that's an oversimplification, but there's an important truth behind it. Because icons have become a universal language, and because so many players have been trained to rely on them, we've slowly normalized designing missions around icons first. It's easier and faster to place icons on an empty map than to craft a legible layout. It gives directors and producers something concrete to review early, and it helps content move forward before the world is fully built. But then level art happens in parallel, often in silos, meaning gameplay and visuals don't always align. And when things become unclear, instead of reworking the layout, the cheaper solution is to add more icons. But then, we playtest too late and realize players get confused by conflicting signals. And once again, the cheapest fix is, of course, to breadcrumb with even more icons. So no, the problem is not players being stupid or designers being lazy. It's budgets, planning, and pipelines, and a lack of formal training in how to make environments speak for themselves. If you get rid of icons, you don't remove guidance, you just move it back where it belongs, into the world itself. The first thing you'll want is for the player to be able to orient themselves. Before telling them where to go, you need to tell them where they are. One of the most powerful tools in a designer's arsenal is landmarking. Big, readable silhouettes on the horizon give players orientation, but not instructions. For example, in Breath of the Wild, you're constantly anchored by distant landmarks. That mountain, Hyrule Castle, the Hebra Mountain, which let you instantly recognize where you are without a compass. They don't tell you where to go when. They answer a single question. Where in the world am I? The landmark never serves as a destination in itself. It's a promise, a call to adventure. Once players know where they are, you guide them through curiosity. Sightlines are intentional reveals. You turn a corner and see something interesting. This compels players to seek it out. They choose to get there and engage. Therefore, you don't need an icon. Your terrain should never feel random. You should craft it with intention, to always tease your player with something new and intriguing. Now that you've got them moving, they need to know what's important on their path. Our brains are wired to notice contrasts. Color, shape, motion. You can have a path framed by trees, a warm glow in a soft environment, or an orange chest against a blue wall. Those will naturally guide your player's sight towards important elements. But those contrasts should be rare and meaningful. Because if everything pops, it's just as bad as a UI clusterfuck. Now, to further enhance readability, lighting is one of the most elegant tools we have. Players trust it instinctively. A brighter path feels safer, a shadowed corridor feels optional, and a lit doorway feels important. It's extremely important that lighting supports the layout, not goes against it. And that your lighting coding remains consistent throughout the game. If shadows are meant to be a safe hiding spot, then they should always remain safe hiding spots.
Oh, come on, dude. How come it's not letting me assassinate him?
Now, games need a clear visual language beyond lighting. You need gameplay ingredients that can stand out in the environment, and will consistently indicate actions required from the player. A game like Final Fantasy VII Remake notoriously uses bright yellow paint to signal climbable path. It works, but it feels artificial. Ghost of Tsushima, on the other hand, does the same job, but with elements grounded in its fiction. From faction flags, to specific colored trees, cloth trail markers, or torii gates, they have the same function as yellow paint, but a very different feeling. Your visual language shouldn't be plastered above your world, but rather evolve from it. Of course, having an open world to explore is cool and all, but if you want a sense of progression, you might need some sort of gating. That might actually be one of the few design flaws in Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild deliberately chose freedom over progression, and that trade-off comes with consequences. It keeps the game from having an increasing difficulty in terms of puzzle, and prevents designers from creating setups, mixing ingredients thought in order of complexity. To prevent that pitfall, you need some sort of gating. But gating doesn't mean stopping the player straight up. It means suggesting timing. The introduction of quiet in MGS5 is a great example. Terrain, threat, and player readiness all work together to say, not yet. No icon required. You can get there, but you understand without being told that you'll need better equipment to make it through. One guidance tool that is criminally underrated is audio design. You can hear a village before you see it. Sounds build anticipation and spatial memory. Here, listen to those two ambiences. I'm sure without any image you can perfectly imagine the area you're in, and what you might find there. Okay, we've spent enough time telling players what they can do. Now, how do we guide them to point of interest? Well, that's easy. Breadcrumbs! Not a breadcrumb path of markers, mind you. Rather, soft guidance through engagement. You find an enemy camp and kill everyone. Behind the camp is a climbing challenge. After climbing, you found a cave. That cave leads to a boss. After the boss, you get in a calm corridor, which serves as a breather. And at the end of the corridor, you arrive at a temple. The player isn't following a marker, you're following a breadcrumb of gameplay. And finally, the cherry on the cake, you can use your narrative for guidance. Characters can tell you where to go, and why it matters in a cutscene.
Follow the road out to Kakariko Village. There you will find the Elder Impa. Make your way past the twin summits of the dueling peaks. From there, follow the road as it proceeds north.
Ambient NPCs can give you information as to where to find what you're looking for.
Saijo-san, do you know any places where sailors like to hang out around here?
Try the MJQ Jazz Bar or Heartbeats Bar.
Even a simple signpost can work. When the direction is contextual, it becomes a motivation rather than an obligation. None of these techniques are new. They're just harder than placing an icon. But when guidance lives in the world instead of the UI, players don't just reach objectives, they experience the journey. So yeah, icons are not inherently evil, they're tools. And like any other tools, they're useful when used in the right context. And damaging if they become replacements for good design. When guidance lives mostly through UI, players stop reading the world, and stop engaging with it. Curiosity and discovery are replaced by compliance, and exploration loses its meaning. But when guidance is baked into the environment, through landmarks, sightlines, contrast, lighting, sound, gameplay beats, and narrative context, something changes. Players don't blindly follow objectives, they understand the world. They don't follow instructions, they make decisions, and those decisions become memories and create meaning, from which emerges that feeling of discovery we all fell in love with in the first place. Great level design doesn't tell players where to go. It makes them want to get there themselves. Alright, that's it for today. What do you guys think about guidance in modern games? Have you ever noticed interesting ways in which your favorite game guides you without markers? Let me know in the comments below, and as always, see you next time.